Welcome to Father's House. My name's Michael Fryer, and I'm pleased to have today, and actually privileged to have Bob Carroll from Manchester, who is a chaplain to Manchester Police, but also has an amazing ministry. And Bob, I want to thank you for coming today, but I'm really keen to hear about your ministry. So can you tell me a little bit about the ministry, what it's called, and then when you started the ministry?
Yeah, the ministry, we call it MIA UK Foundation, which is Missing in Action Foundation. It's based in Manchester, and I have, as part of my team, are Jewish people, some of them leaders within the community, and they look after the administration for the foundation and do a tremendous job helping me to find my way in the jobs that I'm sent on for the Lord to help these missing soldiers.
And that's who you're talking about. Missing in Action is missing soldiers. That's
correct. Missing Israeli soldiers.
Okay.
Since the birth of Israel in 1947, there's been numerous battles, but there's been over 300 missing Israeli soldiers, and they've all been accounted for except 6 that's still left. And those 6 are the ones that we're trying to locate and bring home to the families.
Now, we've heard an awful lot about a particular missing soldier in Israel, Gilad Shalit, but are you saying that there are 6 others that our press and our media don't talk about?
Well, that's right, yeah. There's Zachary Bormel, Yehuda Katz, Sivi Feldman, who went in 1982, the 11th of June. We have Ron Arad, who went on October the 16th, 1986. He was flying a jet over the Lebanon, a navigator in an aircraft. It came down. The pilot of his aircraft was really saved by new technology that the Israelis have. They pin little machines or whatever it is to themselves, and the radar picked them up. And an helicopter came in to pick the pilot up, and it looked like the backdrop for a Hollywood movie. He put his arm through underneath the helicopter, and that lifted him up in the air and took him away. But unfortunately, Ron Arad was taken by the local militia, and he's been missing since.
So Ron Arad hasn't been heard of since 1986?
No, we've had snippets of information, and obviously we've got people that can help us, and they provide information from time to time. But we know the last we heard of him was he'd had an operation or something in an hospital in Beirut, all done underground and in secret. And then when people went to look, he'd disappeared. But we believe at the moment he is in Iran at the moment.
Now, these soldiers then are being held by who?
By who? Well, obviously, there's 2 groups of people involved. There's the Syrians and there's the Iranians. Those overall have in charge of the missing soldiers, but they sort of just give the work out to people like Hezbollah, who keep hold of them. But for example, though, on one occasion, we did know that Ron Arad was being held by the Syrian security service, the Air Force intelligence unit were holding him in a village somewhere in the Syrian interior.
Okay. But if an Israeli soldier captures a terrorist from Gaza or whatever, they're held in an Israeli prison.
That's right.
And they have human rights and they have visits. Right. What about these guys?
Absolutely. And that's the crying shame, particularly at the moment when we've got what is going on in Syria and the crying human rights over there. But nobody thinks of the human rights of these guys that's been held for what? It's coming up to 30 years now.
And how long have you been working for these missing soldiers?
Since 1990. I went down to Manchester because I was involved in a work with the Jewish community there, and a lot of friends there too. And I went into a Jewish bookshop, and I saw a notice on the wall saying Ron Arad campaign. And I asked the proprietor, can I have some details? And he said, oh no, I don't know anything about it. So I thought, well, perhaps I'm not meant to do anything. So I started looking on the books that were on, for sale. And he came up to me and he said, excuse me, and he took my hand, he opened it out, and he put a piece of paper with a telephone number in it, and he closed my hand up, and he said, ring that number, which turned out to be a synagogue in London, and also headquarters for the Young Likud Party. And I made the telephone call. I was on my way down to London, and that's where it all began, because I really did pray about it that particular night, because I thought, here we have a young fella, and they're claiming that the world doesn't know where he is. It's swallowed him up. And in today's day and age, with all the technology we have, where a journalist can find a pebble in the desert or a leaf in the jungle, you can't find a human being. And that's what I would like also to emphasise. The ministry is built on a humanitarian cause, right, as to why they should be treated like this.
Yeah. So how many soldiers are you looking after now, or trying to publicise?
Well, all 6 actually.
Okay.
But I work for a family of one of the 3 that went missing in 1982. That's Zachary Bowman, Yehuda Katz, and Viv Feldman. Now, we do have information, because we do have contacts inside Syria, and for their own safety, I probably I won't mention them. But we believe fairly strongly that at least 2 that are still alive after all this time. Even if the others are not, what we must be mindful, within Israeli culture, it's as important to have a body back as what it is for him to come back live. Because, they've got to sort of put an end to it, draw a line under it.
And that's the same for all of us. If we've lost a child,
Indeed.
Wherever, we want to know, don't we?
Absolutely.
So, Bob, how can our viewers help, and how can they support you?
Well, first of all, we've got a website, which will come up on the screen. But also, I could say, write to your local MP, write to number 10 Downing Street, write to the Red Cross, write to the United Nations in New York. I think his name's Mr. Moonan or something, who's the president of the United Nations. And they are aware, because we've been in touch with them. But the more people that's in touch with them, the better. I don't know whether they've got time, but just very briefly, the value of keeping the names in the public eye is that a Christian pastor in Iran who went and was sentenced to death, the judge let him off because he said of the value of the worldwide publicity.
That's right. I remember. That's not so long ago, Bob, is it? So,
no.
Bob, the work that you're doing is really valuable, and let's hope that these soldiers are not forgotten, and that there will be people like you who will support their families and actually bless their families and bless Israel with the work that you're doing. But you do need help, and you, the viewers, you can get onto Bob's website and ask Bob actually what is the best way forward, and speak to him and encourage him, but also write to the UN and encourage them to do something about this dreadful situation, particularly for these 6 missing soldiers, from Israel who are defending the land that God calls his land. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, Bob, for being with us today. And I hope that our viewers are encouraged by the work that you're doing. I certainly am.